Same way I learned how to shoot a pistol.
Yeah.
Stance, grip, sight picture, aim small, miss small, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. All those things translated from shooting a gun to long snapping a football.
Nate, great to have you here, man.
Good to be here, brother.
And thanks so much for helping us out with that ticket giveaway.
Yeah, of course.
That was amazing. That went down very smoothly.
It went to the right guy.
I think we actually surprised him too, which is...
No, we did. He stood up. He was like, whoa.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Thanks for that. So, Nate, you're one of the kind of few guys to have worn both a NFL jersey and, the military uniform.
Yeah.
But your journey was definitely not linear. You've made a few twists and turns there.
Still doing that.
Which is a beautiful thing. And then, of course, you went on to co-found Merging Destined Players.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning, man. How'd you make your way into the service? Because that was the first thing you did, right?
Yeah. I didn't join right out of high school. I was 20 years old when 9/11 happened, and definitely got me thinking about the military at that time. But, I don't think I had a lot of belief in myself. I don't know if I thought I was the right man for the job. I should have people's lives in my hands. You know what I mean? I just didn't, I don't know. I didn't know. And a couple years later, I find myself doing some relief work over in the Darfur.
Okay.
And it completely changed my perspective. It was less about that, worried about that, and more about like, if not me, who? And there's people in this world that just don't have what we have here, and probably never will.
Yeah.
But to fight for that, even just the possibility of it, I think is worth something. We pulled a lottery ticket being born in America, or if you were able to get here somehow, and I wanted to earn that in some way. So that's what kind of led me to the military, and even on that trip in the Darfur, it was a bit of a special forces mission because I kind of went by myself and talked my way onto a UN flight, got out there, and so after that, and I found out what the Green Berets really did, and there was a humanitarian side to what we're doing as well. It just made sense. And so 2004, I went to the recruiter and said, this is what I want to do.
And you knew at that point that you wanted to go for Green Beret.
Yeah. They had this contract that they'd opened, I think in 2003.
Oh, cool.
Called the 18 X-ray contract.
Right.
So you could come in off the street if you had scored high enough on like language aptitude, ASVAB, psych eval, stuff like that. You could go to basic training, airborne school, and then straight into special forces selection. And if you get selected, then you start your roughly year and a half long training to earn a Green Beret. So I took that contract.
Beautiful. And how long did you end up serving for?
So I did 10 years total. The last 4 were in the National Guard while I was in college at Texas. But I still count those because I deployed in the summer times. Yeah. So I still was just during the season and during going to school. I wasn't, I did the weekend warrior once a month thing.
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're here at Media Week for leading up to the Super Bowl. It's stuff that you're quite familiar with in terms of like the NFL. How's it feel?
I wish I was more familiar with the Super Bowl.
But I can imagine.
But anyway, sorry.
No. Just asking how, as we said before, there's only so many of you who've kind of been in both of those worlds, and you did a great job merging those two, of course, with MVP. But talk a little bit about what brought you to the NFL. There's a lot of hard work in college, I know that. And then how your experience has been.
Yeah, look, just to get that shot, I only played in one career game in the NFL, but just to have that opportunity is unbelievable. Yeah. And I never would have tried. My dad told me this, actually. He said, because I didn't play football growing up. I played baseball, I played basketball, I played all these other sports, but football was my favorite. I grew up in the Bay Area. The Niners, their dynasty was occurring while I was a child.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? If you would have played Pop Warner or maybe even high school football, you would have known how hard it was. And you never would have tried to go play at Texas, and much less the NFL. But because you didn't, because you had a little bit of naivety with that, and because you served in the military, developed this confidence and belief in yourself and the work ethic, that's why you went and tried. He said, I think that's why you went and really thought you had the audacity to think you could make the team and
audacity is a good word there, probably.
And I did, you know what I mean? And he's right. I think he's totally correct. It's like sometimes we overthink things and we kind of psych ourselves out. Sure. Instead of just show up and go for it. And at the end of the day, what if I didn't make the team at Texas? Life goes on,
But the long snapper position is a very
it's niche.
It's very not only niche, but it's also very. It's like almost like the kicker, right? You're so focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
In that instant.
Yeah.
Like it probably took an amazing amount of dedication and focus for you to get as good as you did at that position.
Well, it's a thankless job for the most part. If you do it right 500 times in a row, nobody cares. You screw it up once, right? Your name's in the paper for all the wrong reasons. So there's a lot of that in the military, though. Like we do a lot of thankless jobs. Not that people aren't grateful, thank you for your service, all that stuff, but they don't know the half of what we do. Yeah, a lot of what we're doing is not cool. It's not sexy. It's not fun.
No, indeed, right?
And so you do it because it's like this is my job. This is my duty. This is what I got to do. This is how I'm going to help the team.
Yeah.
And being a good athlete, not a great athlete, puts you in a position. Someone like me, I walked on as a safety. I wasn't getting on the field. I couldn't keep up with the receivers. I wasn't going to cover them. So I had to find a way. And long snapping was unique and something that I could equate to, like the same way I learned how to shoot a pistol.
Yeah.
Stance, grip, sight picture, aim small, miss small, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. All those things translated from shooting a gun to it's not long snapping a football. As funny as it sounds, but once I was able to break it down in that way, and you can focus in that way, crowd noise, the distractions, the scoreboard, all that stuff goes away because you have to focus on those little details.
Would you say, without having done the military, the Green Berets especially, that being as an accomplished college long snapper as you became might not have been within the same amount of reach? I don't know.
First of all, I don't think I would have even tried to play football. Right. But second of all, I probably wouldn't have maybe developed the humility to do something like long snapping because for me, it was like, I just want to play. I want to play meaningful snaps. I remember Mac Brown, was a coach at the time, and he really wanted me to be a voice in the locker room. And I was like, I understand why you do, coach, because of what my past, but I feel like if I'm not playing, if I'm not in the game, if I'm not on the field with the other guys, I don't know if that's my place. I'm happy to mentor some guys or talk to them, but for me to be that voice, I need to be playing too.
Right.
And so that was the only way I was playing. was find a job like that,
Okay, so then fast forward a bit. What led you to MVP?
So, I spent time in the team room in the military, in the locker room in football. Those jerseys and the camouflage, very different, but similar in the sense of like that identity. And then the camaraderie, the brotherhood. When you ask vets and athletes what they miss the most about no longer playing or serving, they almost always say the guys. I miss the guys. I don't miss the BS. You know what I mean? They kind of miss the clowns, but not the circus, which is sort of funny.
Totally.
But you miss that. You that's the number one thing. And I got out of the military in 2015 in February. That was when I transitioned out of the Guard. College was done. I had that brief stint in Seattle, that opportunity, got to play in one game. It was awesome. But then I got cut. And that was it. And it was like, I got no uniform now, no locker room, no guys. You know what I mean? And I was 34, so I felt 24. Felt like I had a lot in the tank, but I was sort of all this energy and nowhere to put it, Right. And Jay Glazer, who had given me an opportunity to train at his gym in preparation for getting that shot in the NFL.
Yeah.
He said, look, there's a lot of athletes that feel the same way that you do, and I would imagine there's probably a lot of vets that feel that way when they leave.
Yeah.
So why don't we bring them together? And that's where MVP came about. We're literally merging vets and players.
Not until this moment, like I've known that there's sort of commonality between the two communities in terms of like their post career and some of the challenges that they face. But it didn't occur to me until this moment that MVP is more than just about the veterans. It's about both.
We serve the athletes as well, and of course, look, we would never compare the battlefield to the ball field. Like the sports and going to war, completely different. It's a different type of sacrifice. Like it just is, and everybody knows that. And so a lot of times athletes, and I appreciate this, they're like, hey, I don't want to compare anything I did to that because that's different, And I'm like, yeah, but you don't realize there's a lot of guys you could help,
right?
If you would just show up and kind of be there, because you're going to have those similarities. And then they show up, and the athletes realize that they actually need it too. You know what I mean?
That's right.
They don't want to admit it.
Something.
A lot of them got a lot of pride. I'm one of those people, but it's like they need it too. And then they're like, okay, maybe this vet go, because we dealt with a lot of guys and deal with a lot of guys that they spent time living in a homeless shelter, in LA after getting out of the military, because they came from a really bad childhood and situation. The military gave them purpose and a family, and then they get out and they're right back in that old situation. They didn't know how to deal with it.
Sure, yeah.
But you got those guys up in the gym with people like Tony Gonzalez and Randy Couture and some of these like Hall of Fame athletes.
Yeah.
And then that veteran is like helping them see something a little bit different. It's kind of crazy to think about, but and that's not just the big famous athletes. It's all the athletes, but they need it too. We got 14 or so chapters around the country.
Right.
We meet up in the gym on a weekly basis. We train together, and then we huddle up afterwards, and it's just peer-to-peer coaching, open forum. Anything's on the table, and it's just a place where we can, just like in the locker room or the team room, you can just talk about it, good, bad, and ugly.
Awesome.
And that's what it is.
And so folks who want to get involved, either as a veteran or an athlete, do they need to live in one of those areas? Or
we have virtual chapter as well, so you don't have to live there. Go to vetsandplayers.org to learn more about Emerging Vets and Players.